A couple of days ago, I was sitting down watching old SpongeBob SquarePants episodes. Rewatching a lot of my favorite episodes and moments from the show. My favorite episodes being Dying for Pie, Van Geeks, and not so much of an episode, but the entire SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Absolutely love it, and it's very nostalgic looking back at them again. But I always wondered what episodes of SpongeBob I hate the most, and which ones are also known to be very well hated by fans. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Grab yourself a snack and your giant SpongeBob figurine like this one right behind me, and try not to reach through the screen, because here we go! SpongeBob. You like SpongeBob? I like SpongeBob. So over the past couple of days, I've been on the internet, going through IMDb and looking on Reddit to see viewers' opinions on certain SpongeBob episodes, and to see which episode is deemed the worst in the series. And after looking for quite some time, I noticed a pattern with some of the responses and how most of the posts that I've seen from viewers tend to say that the episode A Pal for Gary is the worst ever. And some have also said that One Course Meal is the worst. And if you look on IMDb for the lowest rated SpongeBob episodes, those two episodes are the top two episodes on the list, with One Course Meal being at a 3.5 out of 10, and A Pal for Gary being the worst at a 3.2 out of 10. Pretty low numbers, but I trust the reviews. I do remember watching these episodes a long time ago when they came out, but I don't really remember much about them. And before you ask, yes, these episodes came out after the 2004 SpongeBob SquarePants film. And this era of SpongeBob tends to have a lot, and I mean a lot, of terrible SpongeBob episodes. Either way, I decided to watch these episodes once again, and to give my personal thoughts on them. The first episode I watched was One Course Meal. And well, this episode's pretty fucked up. And also the writing is all over the place and doesn't make any sense. It makes you wonder why the characters in the episodes are acting like horrible creatures. I'm talking to you, SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs! God damn it, they were horrible in this episode. So the episode starts off with SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs in the kitchen of the Krusty Krab, as Plankton bursts through the roof, traps them, and demands the secret formula. Mr. Krabs' daughter Pearl enters the scene for some reason, and Plankton gets scared shitless and runs out of the building. So through the remainder of the episode, Mr. Krabs learns that Plankton has a fear of whales. Mr. Krabs' daughter Pearl is a whale! Get it? And so he disguises as his daughter to scare Plankton. This main plot of the episode is so bland, and it's just boring. Mr. Krabs wants to scare and harass Plankton. That's it. Nothing else? Now this episode is very, very harsh on Plankton. We get that he is the antagonist of the SpongeBob series, always stealing the Krabby Patty secret formula and whatnot, but this episode is just so damn ruthless towards him, and it's probably the harshest torture episode in the series. Even worse than what Squidward goes through when he's dealing with SpongeBob in the episodes during this time. And that's saying something! You thought SpongeBob treating Squidward like shit was torture? Well, you haven't seen this episode yet! Throughout the episode, Mr. Krabs uses the Pearl costume to torment Plankton the entire time, to the point where he goes into a deep depression and tries to... Literally! What an absolute fucking monster you are! Yeah, you hate the little booger, but why do you have to be so goddamn harsh on him and push him towards... And oh my god, don't get me started on that goddamn cheesehead SpongeBob. Because later on in the episode, when Plankton tries to he helps the barnacle head out by telling him a revenge plot on Mr. Krabs and tells Plankton that he hates mimes! Literal mimes! There's a reasoning for Plankton to be afraid of whales because they eat plankton and everything, but what's the fucking reason for Mr. Krabs to be afraid of mimes? What's the joke there? Is it because it's random? Haha, Mr. Krabs hates mimes. Ass! Cheesehead Barnacle Pants, that sack of wind, decides to blow his plot on Mr. Krabs' revenge out of the air and turn his back on someone again! But on Plankton! You backstab Mr. Krabs to help Plankton, and now you're backstabbing Plankton to help your boss? Why? No fucking reason! Literally no reason at all! It's because you're a horrible pile of cheese who can't help out anyone in need without backstabbing them and causing all the problems in the world! I hate SpongeBob! This episode is not only bad because of the writing, the horrible meaning of the episode, and the god-awful plot, but it's also bad because it also teaches a horrible lesson to kids who watch this episode. Have an enemy, harass them and torture them to near death. That's the lesson, nothing else. What were they thinking when writing this episode? Don't do this, kids, please, don't listen to SpongeBob, my goodness. I need to get a glass of orange juice and calm myself down a little bit because this episode made my fucking blood boil. No wonder people hate this episode. It sucks and made me angry. Clearly. You know, this episode is pretty bad and, you know, I would say it's one of the worst in the series. But I know that there has to be episodes that are far worse than One Course Meal. Well, here comes A Pal for Gary. An episode that is known to be one of the worst in the series by fans. Same goes as its other episode that played before A Pal for Gary titled Keep Bikini Bottom Beautiful. I could go on a huge rant about that episode alone another time, because my god, that episode was equally as garbage as A Pal for Gary. Anyways, this episode, unlike One Course Meal or Keep Bikini Bottom Beautiful, is a Gary torture episode. The writers really love torturing the characters in these episodes, my god. Anyways, the episode is about Gary being home alone, and SpongeBob thinking that Gary is very lonely while he's at work. Which apparently isn't the case, because he's just watching TV and enjoying his time alone when SpongeBob's at work. So he decides to get a pal for Gary, literally in the title, and gets this weird gooey green fish goblin thing from this lady from the street, and calls it Puffy, Fluffy, Huggy Wuggy, whatever the hell it's called. SpongeBob, being the little shit he is, didn't listen to a damn word the old lady was trying to tell him, as she was trying to warn SpongeBob the dangers of owning the pet. But dipshit SpongeBob didn't even communicate with her. Went in the back of the shop and snatched the pet from the shelf without paying. There's a reason why I hate SpongeBob in these newer episodes, because my god, he just went back there and stole the pet, the Puffy, Fluffy, Huggy Wuggy character, I don't know. Anyways, throughout the episode, whenever SpongeBob is not present in the room or when he's on screen, the new pet terrorizes Gary. The art style of the green booger goblin when this thing is terrorizing Gary is so disturbing and messed up and detailed. And I bet if a kid was watching this episode, then they would probably literally shit their pants. They'd be terrified of that. Hell, it even scared me. Who made this? SpongeBob goes to bed later on in this episode and leaves Gary alone downstairs with the creature, not caring about his pet's well-being nor paying attention and listening to what Gary's trying to show him, and why Gary is in danger. That goes to show how horrible of a pet owner SpongeBob is, but besides the point. But it's also weird because in almost every older episode of the show, SpongeBob cares so much about his pet snail. Why does he not care about Gary in this episode specifically? Anyways, the creature becomes bigger, more deformed, and more terrifying. Chases Gary around the house throughout the night, destroys everything in the kitchen and around the house, while SpongeBob is somehow still asleep, may I remind you. And once SpongeBob wakes up, he finds Gary being eaten by the creature. SpongeBob, again being the loser he is, immediately shames Gary for being a little mean to Puffy, Fluffy, Huggy Wuggy character, as he doesn't even bother trying to save Gary. Yeah, he just lets Gary be brutally eaten by this weird creature, and all he cares about is yelling and shaming Gary for no fucking reason. Oh, because Gary was quote-unquote a little mean to Puffy Fluffy. Puffy Fluffy drops Gary finally and snatches up SpongeBob as he's still shit-talking Gary while being eaten. So that leaves Gary responsible for saving the day and scaring away the fucking creature. After he saves SpongeBob's life, the cheese fuck has the nerve to continue to shame Gary after he just saved his life! Doesn't even say thank you to him and say, "Oh, Gary, you're so nice. Thank you for saving me from that creature." No, he just shames him. Well, Gary, what do you have to say for yourself? Fuck this episode! A Pal for Gary, in my opinion, is definitely one of the worst episodes in the series due to it being another character torture episode, and also the horrible and bland writing in this episode and the humor. My god, I don't know what they were trying to go for with the humor in these episodes, but it sucked. There's this one point where SpongeBob is grabbing something to eat, and that being enchiladas. That's the joke. That's literally the joke. SpongeBob eats enchiladas and he says it in a funny little accent. That's literally the joke. What's the point of adding that? Since when the fuck does he like enchiladas? In conclusion, there are a lot of good episodes of SpongeBob, but there are a lot of bad ones, especially during the time when these episodes were released. It's funny because the episodes that I talked about in this video were all released on the same season and in the same year. I would say that these episodes are one of, if not the worst episodes of SpongeBob, and I completely understand why these episodes are so hated by fans. Anyways, that's the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed this video of me ranting about One Course Meal and A Pal for Gary. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye! Bye bye.